The grand arena stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal floor. 200 species had sent their representatives to watch this moment. Floating platforms held delegations from every corner of the galaxy. Their eyes focused on the center stage where Elder Thravian stood, his insectoid body draped in ceremonial robes that had been worn for 10,000 years. "We gather today." Thravian's voice boomed through translation devices. "To witness a human face the trial of proving. This sacred test has measured the worth of warriors since the first council. Every champion who has stood here has... Is there a skip button for this?" The voice came from the human standing at the arena's entrance. Commander Minseo Park stood with her arms crossed, looking at her datapad. She wore a simple gray uniform with Korean military insignia. Her black hair was pulled back in a practical bun. Thravian's mandibles clicked in confusion. Excuse me?" Minseo looked up. "The speech. Does it go on much longer? I have a dinner reservation at 6. A wave of shocked chittering and gasps rolled through the assembled aliens. Ambassador Chen, the human diplomat, covered his face with his hands. He had warned them. He had specifically warned them about Minseo. Thravian's compound eyes darkened. "Young warrior. This is a ceremony that dates back 10,000 years. Yeah, I got that part." Minseo walked onto the crystal floor, her boots making soft sounds. "Can we just do the actual test? I read the briefing. May's first, right?" The elder's antennae quivered with barely contained offense. "Very well. Since you are so eager." He gestured, and the floor beneath Minseo shifted. Walls of shadow rose around her, forming a massive labyrinth. "The maze of shadows will test your courage. Fear-inducing technology will assault your mind. The fastest completion time is 6 hours, achieved by the Warlord of Krenth. Begin." 1. Minseo pulled out her datapad again and started walking. The maze was designed to be terrifying. Holographic monsters lunged from corners. The walls whispered dreadful prophecies. The air itself seemed to press down with psychological weight. Technologies older than most civilizations worked to break the spirit of whoever entered. Minseo walked straight through a holographic demon while typing a message. She turned left, then right, then left again. She didn't look up from her screen. Is she texting?" Someone whispered in the observation stands. Ambassador Chen nodded miserably. "Probably ordering dinner." 3 minutes and 42 seconds after entering, Minseo walked out the other side. She looked up from her datapad. "Okay. What's next?" The arena fell silent. Even the automated systems seemed confused. Thravian floated down from his platform, his ceremonial robes swirling. "You must have cheated. The maze is impossible to navigate that quickly. You weren't even paying attention." "Force. The turns follow a simple pattern based on shadow angle," Minseo said. "And the fear stuff doesn't work if you know it's artificial." "What's the next test?" A small alien in the front row, a researcher named Plix, frantically checked his equipment. "Elder, she actually did it. No cheating detected. She just walked through." Thravian's entire body went rigid. In 10,000 years of tradition, no one had ever treated the trial of proving with such casual disregard. "The second challenge," he said, his voice tight, "is the test of combat. You will face the arena's battle drone. It has not been defeated in 300 years. Perhaps this will earn your respect." "Endurous," Minseo shrugged. "Sure." The combat drone descended from the ceiling. It was a massive machine, 3 meters tall, armed with energy weapons and armored plating. Its sensors locked onto Minseo. The crowd leaned forward. This, surely, would be different. The drone fired. Minseo wasn't there anymore. She had moved so fast that most observers missed it. She appeared beside the drone, reached up, and did something to its central processor unit. The drone froze, then powered down. 28 seconds had passed. You have training programs for this, right? Minseo asked, brushing dust off her uniform. Like, for actual practice? Ambassador Chen finally stood up. He had to explain before this got worse. Elder Thravian, may I speak? Thravian gestured weakly. He seemed unable to process what he was seeing. Chen cleared his throat. Commander Park isn't trying to be disrespectful. The issue is, these tests are genuinely easy for her. For any human with her level of training. Impossible, said a delegate from Velthros. The trials have tested the greatest warriors in galactic history. Yes, Chen said carefully. But your galaxy has been mostly peaceful for a very long time. Earth hasn't. Chen, Minseo was examining the deactivated drone with interest. This is really good tech, though. Responsive systems. I'm just saying, if you added some adaptive learning and maybe some redundant processors, it would be a lot harder to shut down. Thravian found his voice. There are 3 more trials. The Environmental Gauntlet, the Strategy Challenge, and finally, the Ancient Challenge. His tone had changed from offended to something else, something almost worried. Please proceed. Minseo nodded and walked toward the next testing area. As she passed Ambassador Chen, she muttered, "Do they have Korean food in this sector? I'm really craving bibimbap." Chen just shook his head. The environmental gauntlet began. Extreme heat flooded the chamber, hot enough to make most species collapse. Minseo started discussing dinner options with Chen through her communicator while walking through the fire section. The cold zone that followed was designed to freeze muscles and slow reflexes. She kept walking at the same pace. The pressure chamber should have crushed her organs. She yawned. 47 minutes later, all 3 environmental tests were complete. The record had been 9 hours. The galactic observers weren't whispering anymore. They were staring in silence. A young warrior from Zenth, named Zeth, clenched his fists. He had trained his entire life to attempt these trials. Watching this human treat them like a boring afternoon was making his blood boil. Strategy Challenge, Thravian announced. His voice had lost all its ceremonial weight. Command these forces against the enemy simulation. Minseo sat at the command console. The simulation began. 10,000 allied units against 15,000 enemy units. Difficult terrain. Limited resources. Every previous challenger had needed hours to analyze the scenario. Minseo won in 12 minutes. She stood up from the console. Okay, so what was this actually supposed to test? Because the enemy AI uses predictable patterns. It's good for teaching basics, but it's not really a challenge once you see the response loops. Thravian descended to the arena floor. He stood directly in front of Minseo, his alien face unreadable. How? He said quietly. Are you doing this? Minseo looked genuinely confused. Doing what? This is basic stuff. Standard training. Standard? Thravian's voice rose. Standard? You've just completed in 1 afternoon what takes most warriors years to achieve. I mean... Minseo glanced at Ambassador Chen for help. I'm not even that special? There are thousands of humans with my training level. Probably tens of thousands. 1. The arena erupted in shocked noise. Thravian raised a limb for silence. There is 1 trial remaining. The Ancient Challenge. It draws from your own mind, creates your deepest fear. We can postpone. Let's just finish, Minseo said. I really do have dinner plans. Thravian looked at Ambassador Chen, who looked worried for the first time. Elder, Chen said, maybe we should discuss. But Minseo was already walking toward the final arena. The doors closed behind her. The system began scanning her mind, preparing to manifest her greatest fear. Thravian looked at the readout. His body went completely still. Stop the trial, he said. Stop it now. The technician looked up. It's already begun. Elder. Inside the sealed arena, Minseo's test had started. And for the first time that day, she wasn't bored anymore. The observation screens showed the inside of the ancient challenge arena, but the images made no sense to most of the alien viewers. They expected monsters. They expected physical threats, fire, beasts, weapons. Instead, they saw a ruined city. Buildings collapsed in twisted metal and concrete. Smoke rose from countless fires. Bodies lay in the streets. Not alien bodies, human bodies. The simulation had pulled directly from Minseo's memories and constructed her deepest fear. "I don't understand," said Plix, the small researcher. "Where is the challenge? Where is the enemy?" Ambassador Chen stood frozen, his face pale. He understood. He understood perfectly. Inside the arena, Minseo walked through the destroyed streets. Her casual demeanor was gone. Her shoulders were tense. Her jaw was set. She moved like a soldier now. Not like someone bored with ceremony. The simulation spoke with multiple voices. Crying children. Wounded civilians. Soldiers calling for help. All of them were beyond the barriers of flame and collapsed structures. All of them needed saving. "You can only save one group," the arena's AI announced. "Choose." Minseo stopped walking, her hands clenched into fists. On the left, a school with children trapped inside. Fire spreading. Minutes until the building collapsed. On the right, a medical center with wounded civilians and doctors. Structural damage, critical. Same timeline. Behind her, a military position under attack. Her unit. Her people. She could only choose one. "This isn't a fear of death," Thravian whispered, watching the screens. "This is a fear of failure," Ambassador Chen finished. "Of having to choose who lives and who dies. Of not being able to save everyone. This is what humans face in war. Not our own death. The weight of impossible choices." Minseo stood in the simulated street for 30 seconds. To her, it felt like hours. The screaming continued. The fires spread. Time was running out. She moved to the left. Toward the school. The simulation adjusted. Made it worse. The medical center collapsed. The screams cut off. Her military unit's radio chatter went silent. Dead. All dead, because of her choice. Minseo's breathing was heavy now. Sweat covered her forehead. But she kept moving forward. Reaching the school. Breaking through barriers. Pulling simulated children to safety. Why doesn't she stop? "She can't stop," Chen said quietly. "Not until she saves who she can. That's what the training does. You keep moving forward." "Chen?" The simulation changed. New scenario. A hostage situation. Terrorists with civilians. She had a shot. One shot. But the target was holding a child. The angle was tight. She could miss. She could hit the child. "Take the shot," the simulation ordered. "Or they kill everyone." Minseo raised a weapon that had appeared in her hands. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear. From the weight of what she had to do. She took the shot. The simulation showed her the result. She had hit the target. But the child had been wounded in the fall. Not fatal, but hurt. Crying. Bleeding. Minseo dropped to her knees. "Stop this," Thravian said to his technicians. "Override the system. Stop this. Now." "The override requires 2 minutes to engage safely," the technician replied. "Emergency shutdown could harm the participant." Thravian wanted to smash the console. 2 minutes. 2 minutes watching this human warrior face horrors that his peaceful species had never imagined. The simulation continued. More scenarios. More impossible choices. A burning building with 2 exits. She could only open one. A sinking ship with not enough lifeboats. A minefield with civilians trapped and no safe path. Every scenario pulled from human history, from human wars, from the brutal mathematics of survival that Earth had taught its children. And Minso faced each one, made each choice, lived with each consequence. In the observation stands, the young warrior Zeth had stopped clenching his fists. He was staring at the screen with wide eyes. "How?" he whispered. "How does anyone bear this?" "They bear it because they have to," Chen said. "Because someone has to make these choices. Because if they don't, everyone dies." Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the 2 minutes passed. The override engaged. The simulation froze, then faded away. Minseo remained on her knees in the empty arena, breathing hard. Her uniform was soaked with sweat. Her hands were still shaking. Thravian personally opened the arena doors and entered. He moved to Minseo slowly, carefully. "Commander Park," he said gently. "The trial is over. You have passed." Minseo looked up at him. Her eyes were distant, still seeing the simulations. Then, slowly, she focused. She saw the elder standing before her, concern obvious in his alien features. She stood up on shaking legs, took a deep breath. Another. Her training kicked in. Control the breathing. Center yourself. Come back to the present. "I'm fine," she said. Her voice was rough. "I've dealt with worse." Thravian's antennae drooped. "Commander, that was a simulation. Were the scenarios based on real memories?" "Some of them." Minseo wiped her face. "Modified versions. But yeah, close enough." "You've actually faced these choices?" "Most soldiers have, if they serve long enough." Minseo looked around the arena, seeing it clearly now. Just a room. Just a test. At least, this was just a simulation. Nobody actually died. The words hung in the air. The implication was clear. She had faced these scenarios for real. People had actually died, based on her choices. Thravian was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "We didn't know. We couldn't have known. Our trials were designed for species who view combat as sport, as ceremony. We didn't understand that humans view it as survival." Minseo finished. She was recovering quickly now, her composure returning. "Yeah, that's the difference, I guess." Ambassador Chen entered the arena with a medical team. "Minseo, you should be checked out." "I'm fine, really." But she accepted a bottle of water and drank deeply. "Did I pass?" Thravian made a sound that the translator rendered as a sad laugh. "You passed after the first trial, Commander. All of this was. We were testing the wrong things." The medical team scanned Minseo and confirmed she was physically unharmed. Psychological evaluation would come later, but she seemed stable. More stable than most species would be, after facing their worst fears. As they left the arena, Zeth approached. The young alien warrior had been so resentful earlier, angry at how easily Minseo had completed the trials. Now, he looked at her differently. "Commander," he said hesitantly, "I wanted to apologize. I thought you were showing off. I didn't understand." Minseo gave him a tired smile. "Nothing to apologize for. You couldn't know." She paused. "The physical stuff? The tests out there? Those really are easy for humans. We train hard. But this last one," she gestured back at the arena. "Yeah, that one's never easy. Not supposed to be." Zeth nodded slowly. "How do you continue after facing such things?" "1. Because people need help," Minseo said simply. "And someone has to do it. Might as well be someone trained for it." The group made their way back to the main observation area. The assembled delegates were silent now. The celebration they had planned, the ceremony, all of it felt hollow. Thravian addressed the crowd. "The human has passed the trial of proving. But we must acknowledge that these trials were not designed for a species like humanity. They have faced challenges we cannot imagine, survived in ways we do not understand. So what happens now? Asked the Velthian delegate. Now, Thravian said, we must reconsider what we thought we knew about strength, about readiness, about what it means to be a warrior. Mincio stood to the side, drinking water and checking her datapad. She looked up. Sorry, but what were these trials actually for? Like, what's the point? The question caught everyone off guard. Thravian blinked. They test if a species is ready to face galactic dangers, to prove they can handle the threats we might encounter. Rudd. Then. There. Mincio frowned. Okay. So, what are these dangers? Because if your trials are the benchmark for handling threats, I need to know what level we're talking about. The crowd exchanged uncomfortable looks. The silence stretched. Finally, Plix spoke up. The current galactic dangers are, approximately, at the level of the trials. Mincio stared. You're serious? The galaxy has been peaceful for a very long time, Thravian admitted. The trials were created in a more dangerous era. But that era ended millennia ago. Before Mincio could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the arena. Red lights flashed. Delegates jumped to their feet, in panic. A technician shouted over the noise. Long-range sensors have detected multiple hostile ships entering the sector. Unknown configuration. They're not responding to hails. Thravian's body went rigid with fear. How many? 15 vessels, Elder. Armed, approaching fast. The peaceful galaxy had just become dangerous again. And as panic spread through the assembled aliens, one human remained calm. Mincio stopped checking her datapad. Her tired expression vanished, replaced by sharp focus. How much time until they arrive? 2 hours, the technician said. Mincio looked at Ambassador Chen. Dinner's cancelled. Then she turned to Thravian. Elder, I need a tactical display. Now. The command center, filled with chaos. Delegates shouted over each other. Some demanded evacuation. Others argued about diplomatic protocols. A few simply froze, in panic. Mincio's voice cut through the noise. Everyone quiet. The authority in her tone made the room fall silent. She stood in front of the tactical display, studying the enemy formation. Her exhaustion from the trial had vanished. This was what she was actually trained for. First question, she said, pointing at the screen. What defensive assets do we have in this sector? A Velthian military officer stepped forward, his skin pale with fear. We have 12 patrol ships. They're lightly armed, and the station's shields. But they're designed for debris, not weapons fire. Our key. Weapons on the station? None. This is a ceremonial venue, not a military installation. Mincio nodded, her mind already working through scenarios. Okay. Second question. Those hostile ships. What's their weapons range? Plix pulled up sensor data with trembling hands. Based on their configuration. Approximately 50,000 kilometers for effective fire. And their speed? They'll enter weapons range in 1 hour and 40 minutes at current velocity. Mincio turned to Thravian. Elder, I need command authority over the defensive forces. I need it now. Thravian didn't hesitate. You have it. All ships. This is Elder Thravian. You will follow Commander Park's orders as if they were my own. The patrol ship captains appeared on communication screens. They looked confused and frightened. Most of them had never seen combat outside of training exercises. Mincio addressed them calmly. Captains, I'm Commander Mincio Park, human military. We have 15 hostiles inbound. Your ships aren't built for this fight, and that's fine. We're not going to fight them head-on. Here's what we're going to do. She pulled up a tactical map and began drawing. The station sits near an asteroid field. Small rocks, nothing valuable, which is why nobody cleared it. That's our advantage. We're going to use the field as cover and turn this into an ambush. A captain from Krenth spoke up. "Commander, our ships can't survive sustained fire. Even one hit could. Which is why you won't get hit," Mincio interrupted. "You're going to hide behind asteroids, and only expose yourself for seconds at a time. Fire. Move. Hide. Fire. Move. Hide. Make them chase you deeper into the field where their larger ships are less maneuverable. But there are 15 of them, and only 12 of us," another captain protested. "Not true," Mincio said. She pointed at the station. "The station's shields can be modulated, correct? Turn them into a directional energy burst?" A technician nodded slowly. "Theoretically, yes. But that would leave the station vulnerable. And the burst wouldn't be very powerful. Don't need it powerful. Just need it bright. We'll use the station as bait and a distraction. 3 ships stay here with the station. The other 9 spread out in the asteroid field along these coordinates." She marked positions on the map. The alien officers studied them, beginning to understand. The positions formed a triangle, with the station at the center. Any enemy ship approaching the station would have patrol ships on at least 2 sides. "The station bursts its shields to blind their sensors," Mincio continued. "That's when the 9 ships in the field attack their flanks. The 3 ships with the station hit them from behind. Crossfire pattern. They won't know which targets to prioritize." Ambassador Chen watched from the side, a small smile on his face. This was Mincio, in her element. Not bored. Not going through the motions. Actually, engaged. Zeth raised a hand tentatively. "Commander, what if they split their forces?" "Better for us," Mincio said. "Smaller groups are easier to handle. If they split, the field teams adapt and focus fire. The key is making them think we're more dangerous than we are. Hit fast, disappear. Hit from a different angle. They'll either get cautious and slow down, giving us time, or they'll get aggressive and make mistakes." Thravian watched her work with something like awe. An hour ago, she had been dismissing their trials as too easy. Now she was turning a desperate defense into a coordinated strategy, using limited resources. "What about the civilians on the station?" someone asked. "Already thought of that," Mincio said. She turned to Thravian. "You have transport ships docked here, right? For the delegates?" "Yes, 43 vessels. Start evacuating non-essential personnel now. Prioritize, based on species vulnerability. Anyone who can help with defense or communications stays. Everyone else goes to the far side of the planet where they'll be protected by the planetary shield. Move fast, but don't panic. Panic kills." The evacuation began immediately. Mincio turned back to the tactical display and started making calculations. She pulled up information about the hostile ships, studying their design. "Plix," she called out. "You're a researcher. Look at these ships. Tell me anything you notice." The small alien scurried over, his fear temporarily forgotten in the face of a problem to solve. He studied the sensor readings. "They're old. Very old. The design is similar to pirate vessels from 3,000 years ago, but modified. Enhanced. Pirates," Mincio muttered. "That's actually good news." "How is that good news?" Ambassador Chen asked. "Pirates want loot, not war. They picked this target because it looked soft. A bunch of delegates, ceremonial venue. Light defenses. They're expecting easy prey." Mincio smiled. And it wasn't a friendly expression. "We're going to educate them." The next hour passed in focused preparation. Mincio drilled the patrol ship captains on the maneuvers. She made them practice the timing until they could execute the plan smoothly. She assigned specific targets to each ship, accounting for their different weapon systems and capabilities. The civilian evacuation proceeded efficiently. Mincio had organized it like a military operation. And it showed. No crowding. No panic. Just steady movement. Zeth watched her coordinate everything and finally approached. "Commander, May I ask you something? Make it quick, Minseo said, still working on the tactical display. Earlier, in the trial, you faced terrible choices. Now you're making decisions that could get people killed. How do you carry that? Minseo stopped what she was doing and looked at him. Really looked at him. She saw a young warrior trying to understand something his peaceful upbringing hadn't prepared him for. You want the truth? She asked. It never gets easy. Every decision weighs on you. But you make the best choice you can with the information you have. You prepare as much as possible. You minimize risk. And then you accept that you did your best. She paused. And if people die anyway, you remember them. You carry them. But you keep moving forward because others still need you. Zeth nodded slowly. May I fight with you? When the battle comes? You're not trained for this. Then let me observe. Let me learn. If the galaxy is becoming dangerous again, we need to know how to face danger. Minseo considered this. Fine. But you follow my orders exactly. No heroics. No improvising. Understood? Understood. The tactical display showed the hostile ships entering the outer range. Minseo opened communication to all defensive forces. This is Commander Park. Final check. All ships report status. One by one, the patrol ship captains reported in. They were in position. They were ready. They were still scared. But they had a plan now. And that made all the difference. Station team, status? Station shields ready to modulate on your command, a technician replied. Good. Minseo took a breath. Listen up. In a few minutes, those ships are going to enter weapons range. They think this is going to be easy. They think we're going to surrender or run. We're going to show them they're wrong. She paused, choosing her words carefully. You're not soldiers. You're patrol officers. Peacekeepers. Most of you have never fired a weapon in anger. That's fine. I'm not asking you to be warriors. I'm asking you to follow the plan. Trust your training, trust each other, and trust that we can do this. Thravian stood beside her, watching the human commander turn frightened officers into a coordinated defense force. You've done this before, he said quietly. Taken inexperienced forces into battle. A few times, Minseo admitted. It's not ideal, but it's what we have. The plan is solid. If they execute it properly, we'll win. And if they don't, then I improvise. The hostile ships crossed into weapons range. Their formation was aggressive, arrogant. They were heading straight for the station, with no caution. Minseo felt the familiar calm settle over her. This was the moment. The moment when all the planning either worked or failed. When theory became reality. All ships, she said quietly. Stand by. The hostile fleet approached the station. They opened communication channels, no doubt preparing to deliver demands. Station team, Minseo ordered. Full shield burst. The station's shields exploded outward in a massive flash of energy. Not damaging, but blinding. The hostile ship's sensors were overwhelmed. Field teams, engage. Station team, fire. The asteroid field came alive with weapons fire. 9 patrol ships emerged from hiding, hitting the hostile fleet's flanks. 3 more ships struck from behind the station. The crossfire pattern was perfect. 2 hostile ships took critical damage immediately. A third lost shields. The formation broke apart in confusion. Fire, move, hide, Minseo commanded. Just like we practiced. Don't stay exposed. The patrol ships vanished back into the asteroid field. The hostile fleet fired back. But they were shooting at empty space. By the time their weapons charged, their targets were gone. They're splitting up, Plix reported. 5 ships pursuing into the field, 10 staying with the station. Minseo smiled. Perfect. Field teams, lead them deeper. Station team, get ready for Phase 2. The battle was just beginning. But for the first time, the assembled aliens weren't panicking. They were watching a human do what humans had learned to do through centuries of warfare. They were watching someone turn a losing situation into a fighting chance. And Commander Min Seo Park wasn't bored anymore. The 5 hostile ships that had entered the asteroid field were learning a hard lesson. Every time they locked onto a patrol ship, their target vanished behind a rock. Every time they maneuvered to chase, weapons fire came from a different direction. Field Team 3, target the lead ship's engines, Min Seo ordered. Teams 4 and 6, wait for my signal, then hit from above. The patrol ships executed perfectly. The lead hostile took engine damage and began to drift. The other 4 turned to cover their wounded companion, exactly as Min Seo had predicted. Now, she said calmly. 2 more patrol ships appeared from above the field, firing down on the distracted hostiles. Shields flared. 1 ship lost power to its weapons. Back to cover. All field teams, rotate positions. Don't use the same hiding spot twice. At the station, the 10 remaining hostile ships were being more cautious. They had seen their companions take damage and were holding back, probably trying to understand what they were facing. Min Seo opened a communication channel directly to the hostile fleet. Unknown vessels. This is Commander Park of the Galactic Defense Force. You have attacked a protected installation. Stand down immediately and prepare to be boarded, or we will destroy you. There was no Galactic Defense Force. Min Seo had just invented it. But the hostile ships didn't know that. A rough voice responded. You have 12 small ships. We have 15 warships. You got lucky with a surprise attack. Surrender now, and we'll let you live. Correction, Min Seo said. You have 13 warships. 2 are disabled. And your 5 ships in the asteroid field are currently being hunted. Do you really want to lose more? Zeth, standing next to Min Seo, whispered. You're bluffing. We can't actually destroy them all. They don't know that. Min Seo whispered back. And if I sound confident enough, they'll start doubting themselves. Doubt makes people cautious. Caution slows them down. Time works for us. The hostile commander didn't respond immediately. That was a good sign. He was thinking, probably looking at his sensor readings, seeing his 2 disabled ships, wondering how such small patrol vessels were fighting so effectively. We're going to send in 3 more ships to support the ones in the field, the hostile commander finally said. If you're smart, you'll evacuate while you can. 3 ships broke from the main group and headed toward the asteroid field. Min Seo had been waiting for this. Field teams, fall back to position Delta. Draw them in. Station Team 2, prepare to cut them off from behind. The patrol ships in the field retreated deeper, making it look like they were running. The hostile ships pursued confidently. They were entering the heart of the asteroid field now, where the rocks were densest. Station Team 2, move now. Block their exit. 3 patrol ships that had been hiding near the station rushed into position behind the pursuing hostiles. The trap closed. All field teams, turn and engage. Full weapons, they're boxed in. What had been a retreat became an ambush. 8 patrol ships against 8 hostile ships. But the patrol ships had better positions, and the hostiles were trapped in terrain that limited their maneuverability. The battle in the asteroid field intensified. Rocks shattered from missed shots. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. The hostile ships tried to break out but found patrol ships waiting at every exit. 2 more hostile ships took critical damage. Another lost weapons capability. At the station, the 7 remaining hostile ships were getting nervous. Their commander had lost half his fleet to what should have been an easy target. Thravian watched the tactical display with amazement. You're not just fighting them. You're psychologically dismantling them. Combat is as much about will as weapons, Min Seo said. They came here expecting prey. Now they're confused and scared. Scared people make mistakes. As if to prove her point, 2 of the hostile ships at the station broke formation and tried to flee. They were running. Station Team 1. Disable those runners if you can. Don't chase if they get away. Let them run. Let them tell others what happened here. The station team managed to damage one fleeing ship's engines, slowing it down. The other escaped into faster-than-light travel. 5 hostile ships left at the station. 6 in the field. All damaged. Mincio opened the channel again. Hostile Commander. You've now lost contact with 9 ships. You have exactly 60 seconds to surrender, before I stop being polite. Ambassador Chen raised an eyebrow. This was you being polite? Very polite, Mincio confirmed. I haven't actually destroyed any ships yet. Just disabled them. That's practically a hug by military standards. The hostile commander's voice came back, and this time it was angry. You think you've won? We still have enough firepower to destroy your station. All your tricks won't. 45 seconds, Mincio interrupted. Choose quickly. There was a long pause. Mincio watched the tactical display, reading the hostile ships' positions and movements. They were clustering together. Defensive. That was fear, not aggression. 30 seconds. We want guaranteed safe passage, the hostile commander said. His voice had lost its confidence. For our damaged ships too. 20 seconds. And no, you don't get to make demands. Zeth stared at Mincio. You're really going to attack if they don't surrender? I won't have to, Mincio said quietly. He's already broken. He just needs an excuse to give up without losing face. Watch. 15 seconds. After that, I stop counting and start shooting. We surrender. The hostile commander's voice was desperate. We surrender. Just let us retrieve our damaged ships and go. Mincio nodded slowly. All hostile vessels, power down weapons immediately. You will be allowed to collect your damaged vessels under escort. Any ship that powers weapons or attempts to flee will be destroyed. Am I clear? Clear. The hostile ships powered down their weapons. The battle was over. The command center erupted in cheers. Delegates who had been terrified an hour ago were celebrating. The patrol ship captains were shouting with relief and joy. Mincio let them celebrate for a moment, then cut through the noise. Field teams. Station teams. Excellent work. Maintain formation and keep those hostile ships in sight until they leave the sector. Stay sharp. The fight isn't over until they're gone. 1. The celebration quieted as the officers remembered their training and returned to their positions. But the relief was still obvious in their voices. Thravian approached Mincio. We won. Against 15 warships. With patrol vessels. We won because they expected easy prey and got organized resistance, Mincio corrected. And because your officers followed orders well. If they'd panicked or improvised, this could have gone very differently. But you planned for every move they made. I planned for the most likely moves. If they'd done something unexpected, I had backup plans. And if those failed, I had emergency plans. You always plan for things to go wrong. Plix was analyzing the battle data, his scientific mind already at work. Commander, your tactics were. I've never seen anything like this in our military history. The way you used terrain, psychology, timing. Where did you learn this? Mincio shrugged. Earth. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We learned a lot of hard lessons. These tactics aren't special. They're just standard military doctrine where I come from. The words hung in the air. Standard. What had seemed like genius to the assembled aliens was routine for humans. Ambassador Chen spoke up. Elder Thravian, I think we need to have a larger conversation about what happened today, about what it means. Thravian's antennae waved in agreement. Yes, this attack, it's the first hostile action in this sector in over 3,000 years. And we were helpless. Without Commander Park, we would have lost the station and possibly thousands of lives. The galaxy is changing, Chen said. The peaceful era might be ending. And the question is, are you prepared for that? Zeth had been quiet, watching and learning throughout the battle. Now he spoke. We're not. We have weapons. We have ships. But we don't know how to really fight. We don't think like warriors. We think like... He struggled for the word. Peacekeepers, Mincio supplied. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually good. Peace should be the default. But you need people who remember how to handle violence when peace fails. The hostile ships began collecting their damaged vessels under the watchful eyes of the patrol ships. It would take another hour before they were all gone. During that hour, Mincio sat down for the first time since the battle started. The adrenaline was fading, and exhaustion was catching up. She'd completed the trial of proving, faced her deepest fears in the ancient challenge, and then immediately fought a battle. Even her training had limits. A medical officer brought her water and a nutrition bar. "Commander, you should rest. After they're gone," Mincio said. "Can't rest until the job's done." Zeth sat down next to her. "May I ask you something personal?" Mincio nodded, too tired to protest. "Do you enjoy this? The fighting? The battles?" Mincio was quiet for a moment. "No. I'm good at it. But I don't enjoy it. Fighting means someone's day got bad enough that violence was necessary. That's not something to enjoy." She took a drink of water. "But I am satisfied when I can protect people. When I can use my training to keep others safe. That part I don't mind." "Then why did you seem so bored earlier, during the trials?" "Because those weren't about protecting people. They were about proving something. About ceremony and tradition. That stuff doesn't interest me." She smiled slightly. "But this mattered. People needed help. That's worth caring about." The last hostile ship finally departed the sector. The all-clear signal came through. The patrol ships returned to the station, to cheering crowds. Mincio stood up. "Okay, now I can rest. And eat. Is there any chance we can still make that dinner reservation?" Ambassador Chen laughed. "I think they'll hold the table for the woman who saved the sector." As they walked toward the exit, Thravian called out, "Commander Park, wait. Please." Mincio turned back. "Yes? Elder? The council will convene tomorrow to discuss what happened today. We would like you to attend. We have much to learn, and I believe you have much to teach us." Mincio hesitated. "I'm not a teacher. I'm a soldier." Mincio, I'm a soldier. Sometimes," Thravian said gently. "Those who have faced darkness are the best guides for those who haven't." Mincio looked at Ambassador Chen, who nodded encouragingly. She sighed. "Fine. But can someone else do the long speeches? I really don't do well with ceremony. Given what you accomplished without ceremony," Thravian said, "I think we can skip the formalities." As Mincio left with Chen, Zeth watched her go. The human warrior who had been so bored by their legendary trials. Who had treated their sacred tests like inconveniences. Who had then saved them all without hesitation. The galaxy had tested a human and found their trials lacking. Now the galaxy would have to learn what humans had known for millennia. That peace was precious. That protection mattered. And that sometimes the strongest warriors were the ones who fought not for glory, but for others. The council chamber was different from the grand arena. Smaller. More practical. 200 delegates sat in curved rows, facing a central platform where Elder Thravian stood, with Commander Mincio Park. Mincio had insisted on standing rather than sitting in the ceremonial chair prepared for her. She wore a fresh uniform, and she'd actually gotten 8 hours of sleep. She looked alert but still fundamentally unimpressed by the formality of the setting. Thravian addressed the assembly. "We gather to discuss yesterday's events and their implications for our future." Commander Park successfully defended this station, using tactics and strategies unknown to our military doctrine. More significantly, she revealed a gap in our preparedness that we can no longer ignore. A delegate from Velthros stood. "With respect, Elder, one battle doesn't prove we need to change our entire approach to defense. This was an isolated incident. Was it? Minseo asked. She pulled up a holographic display. Ambassador Chen sent me your security reports. In the past year, there have been 17 incidents of piracy or hostile action in sectors that had been peaceful for centuries. Yesterday wasn't isolated. It's part of a pattern. The chamber fell silent. The data was clear. Plix stood up. But why now? Why is the violence returning? Why? Because peace doesn't last forever without maintenance, Minseo said. Your ancestors built the trial of proving during a dangerous time. They prepared for threats. But over generations, the galaxy got safer. The trials became ceremony instead of training. The military became peacekeepers instead of defenders. That's fine when everyone agrees to peace. But there are always some who don't agree. Another delegate spoke up. So what do you suggest? That we become warlike? That we prepare for constant battle? No, Minseo said firmly. You don't become warlike, you become prepared. There's a difference. You maintain peace, but you remember how to handle violence when it comes. You train your people properly. You think about threats before they arrive. Thravian nodded. Which brings us to a proposal. Commander Park, would you explain? Minseo looked uncomfortable with the attention but continued. The Council has asked me to develop a training program, not to turn your peacekeepers into soldiers, but to teach them how to think tactically, how to assess threats, how to respond effectively to violence without becoming violent themselves. And you agreed to this? Asked a skeptical Velthian officer. Reluctantly, Minseo admitted. I'm better at doing than teaching. But Ambassador Chen convinced me it was necessary. Chen stood up in the human delegation section. The galaxy is changing. Humanity can either watch you struggle to adapt, or we can help. Commander Park has agreed to stay for 6 months to establish this program. After that, other human military advisors will rotate in to continue the work. A young officer Minseo recognized stood up. Zeth. I wish to volunteer for this program, he said. I fought alongside Commander Park yesterday. I saw the difference between knowing how to use weapons and knowing how to think like a warrior. I want to learn. Another officer stood. Then another. Within minutes, dozens of volunteers had stepped forward. Thravian looked pleased. It seems there is appetite for this knowledge. Commander Park, what would this training involve? Minseo pulled up a training outline. Basic tactical thinking, threat assessment, resource management under pressure, small unit tactics. Nothing too advanced at first. We start with fundamentals and build from there. How long would basic training take? Plix asked. For someone with existing military experience? About 3 months to get the foundations. But this isn't something you learn and forget. It's ongoing. You practice. You drill. You keep the knowledge fresh. A Krenth delegate stood. Forgive me, Commander, but your methods are effective. We've seen that. But they're also very human. Can they work for species with different physiologies and psychologies? It was a fair question. Minseo nodded. Yes and no. The specific techniques might need adjustment for different species, but the underlying principles are universal. Using terrain, coordinating fire, psychological warfare. These concepts work regardless of your biology. Psychological warfare? The delegate looked concerned. That sounds manipulative. It's understanding how your enemy thinks and using that understanding, Minseo explained. Yesterday, I made those pirates doubt themselves. I made them scared. That's not evil. It's smart. If I can win a battle without firing more shots, that's better for everyone. That's not evil. That's better for everyone. Thravian stepped forward. I believe what Commander Park is offering is valuable. But I want to address something else. Yesterday, Commander Park was bored by our trial of proving, dismissive of our traditions. Some of you were offended. Minseo winced. Yeah, about that. Thravian held up a limb. Let me finish. You were right to be dismissive. Our trials were inadequate. They tested physical ability and courage, but not tactical thinking. Not real preparedness. You showed us the gap between our traditions and actual readiness. That was uncomfortable, but necessary. He turned to address the full assembly. For too long, we've maintained traditions without questioning if they still serve their purpose. The trial of proving was meant to prepare warriors for real threats. It became a ceremony instead. We need to be honest about that. An older delegate stood, her species one Minseo didn't recognize. Elder, I understand the practical arguments, but there is value in ceremony, in tradition, in the weight of history. I agree, Thravian said. And I'm not suggesting we abandon ceremony. But perhaps we need different ceremonies. Ones that acknowledge what the galaxy has become, and what it might become again. Minso cleared her throat. Can I say something about tradition? Thravian gestured for her to continue. Yesterday, after the battle, Zeth asked me if I enjoyed fighting. I said no. But on Earth, we have traditions around warfare that I do value. We honor sacrifice. We remember the fallen. We tell stories about courage and survival. These traditions matter because they connect us to those who came before. She paused, choosing words carefully. Your trial. Of proving honored warriors who faced real danger. That's worth remembering. But maybe instead of repeating their exact tests, you honor them by being as prepared as they were for their time. By taking threats seriously. By training properly. That's not disrespecting tradition. That's living up to it. The chamber was quiet. The delegates were thinking. A military commander from Zenth stood. I fought alongside my people yesterday. We did well because we followed Commander Park's plan. But I was terrified. I've never been that scared in my life. And I realized something. I've been a military officer for 20 years, and yesterday was the first time I truly understood what military means. Others nodded. Many of the officers who had fought in the battle were present, and the experience had clearly affected them. If this training had existed before, the Zenth commander continued, I would have been better prepared. My people would have been better prepared. So I support this program, whatever it takes. Thravian looked at the assembly. We will vote on the proposal to establish a tactical training program under human advisement. The vote was overwhelming. Only a handful of delegates abstained, and none voted against. The proposal passes, Thravian announced. Commander Park, you have the Council's full support. Minseo nodded, looking slightly overwhelmed. Okay. Then, let's get started. I want to see your current training facilities and meet with your military leadership. We'll need to assess what you already have before we build on it. The council session ended, and delegates filed out. Many approached Minseo to offer support or ask questions. She handled each interaction with patient professionalism, even though she clearly wanted to get to work rather than talk about work. Zeth waited until the crowd thinned, then approached. Commander, thank you for agreeing to this. Don't thank me yet, Minseo said. Training is harder than fighting. Fighting is quick. Training takes months of repetition and practice. It's boring and frustrating, but necessary. Very necessary. Ambassador Chen joined them. Minseo, the training facility tour is scheduled for this afternoon. But first, you have a meeting with the human military advisors who will be joining you. How many are coming? 5 initially, specialists in different areas. They'll help you develop the curriculum. Minseo nodded. Good. I'll need help. This is a lot to cover. Over the following weeks, the training program took shape. Minseo and her team assessed the existing military capabilities and identified gaps. They designed exercises that worked for multiple species. They created simulations that taught tactical thinking without requiring species-specific physical abilities. The first class of volunteers began training. Zeth was among them, eager and attentive. The training was indeed hard. Many exercises ended in failure, which was the point. Learn from failure in training, not in real battle. Min Seo was a demanding but fair instructor. She pushed her students, but never broke them. When they struggled, she adjusted the approach. When they succeeded, she immediately made the next challenge harder. One afternoon, 3 months into the program, Thravian visited the training facility. He watched as Min Seo ran a tactical simulation. The students had to defend a position with limited resources against a superior force. They failed the first attempt, and the second. But on the third, they succeeded using a strategy similar to what Min Seo had employed during the pirate attack. After the exercise, Thravian approached. "They're learning. They're good students," Min Seo said. "They listen. They ask questions. They practice. That's all you need. You seem less bored now." Min Seo smiled. "Yeah, well, this matters. I'm helping people prepare for things I hope they never face. But if they do face them, they'll be ready. That's worth doing. What about you? Will you stay beyond the 6 months?" Min Seo hesitated. "I don't know. Part of me misses Earth, misses home. But another part." She looked at her students, practicing formations. "Another part thinks there's still work to do here." "You've changed their lives," Thravian said. "Given them knowledge that might save them someday. Maybe. Or maybe the galaxy will stay peaceful, and they'll never need any of this. That would be better, honestly." Thravian's antennae twitched in the gesture Min Seo had learned, meant amusement. "You prepare for war, but hope for peace. That's the job." 6 months after the council vote, the first class graduated from the tactical training program. 50 officers from 20 different species had completed the curriculum. They weren't human-level warriors, but they understood tactical thinking now. More importantly, they were training others. The knowledge was spreading. At the graduation ceremony, Thravian gave a speech. This time, Min Seo didn't interrupt or check her datapad. She stood at attention and listened. "You came here as peacekeepers," Thravian told the graduates. "You leave as protectors. You've learned skills we hope you never use. But if you must use them, you'll be ready. You honor both the peace we've built and the strength needed to preserve it." The graduates stood proud. Zeth was among them, his bearing transformed from uncertain youth to confident officer. After the ceremony, Min Seo prepared to leave. Her 6 months were complete. Other human advisors would continue the program. Zeth approached for a final farewell. "Commander, I never thanked you properly. For teaching us. For showing us there's no shame in being prepared." "You did the work," Min Seo said. "I just pointed the direction. Will you come back? To see how we progress?" "1." Min Seo smiled. "Maybe. If you stop boring me with long ceremonies." Zeth laughed. "We'll keep them short." As Min Seo boarded the transport back to Earth, Ambassador Chen walked with her. "You made a difference here. The galaxy is better prepared now." "The galaxy is slightly less unprepared," Min Seo corrected. "But it's a start. Will you come back?" Min Seo looked out the viewport at the station where she'd fought, trained, and taught. "Yeah," she said finally. "I think I will. There's more work to do." The transport departed. On the station, classes continued. Officers trained. Knowledge spread. The galaxy was learning. Not learning to be warlike. Learning to be ready. Learning that strength came not from seeking violence, but from being prepared to face it. Learning that the best warriors were often the ones who fought not for glory or honor, but for others. Learning lessons that humanity had known for millennia. And somewhere in space, heading home, Commander Min Seo Park closed her eyes and rested. She'd done her job. Protected people. Taught what she knew. Made a difference. It had been worth staying awake for, even if the introduction had been way too long.